Today's session is different than what we normally do. And the reason why I'm so grateful to have all of you here today is after way too much time, 3+ years of researching, learning, coding, a year's worth of beta testing with some really big companies, this is our opportunity to officially unveil Xapa. For the last year, we've had companies on Xapa, but it's all been tightly controlled. It was in test flight, and contained. And now it's available to anybody. And so I actually have 2 or even 3 goals today. One, I want to share Xapa with you so you can see it. And also, Roxanne, if you had a question, raise your hand again. But in addition to showing you Xapa, I want to show you a topic that we would teach in Xapa, just like we normally would on this. It's going to be about a culture of empowerment and accountability. I won't have the full time to do it, so I'm not going to try to dive deep. These are complex topics. When we teach them to companies in person, we will spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's very interactive. So I'm just going to kind of show you what would be in that if you were going through it in Xapa. But I'll also take you behind the scenes so you learn a little bit about how we teach topics to your people or to you or to whoever's on it. So that's the goal today. If you happen to have a question or want to interrupt me along the way, please do so. And that's what we're going to be doing. All right. So for those of you who don't know what Xapa is, our mission is to grow the people who grow your business. And we do that by teaching leadership and life skills in 5 minutes of play a day. And this is honestly the product that I wanted as a CEO in my 50s, as a corporate executive at big companies in my 40s. And it's the product that I needed in my 20s and 30s when my IQ was definitely higher than my EQ. And if you can relate to that, then I hope this will be a decent use of your time. Every organization I have ever been at in my career has struggled with developing its people's EQ and leadership skills at scale. Young people are coming in right now, and whether you're experiencing it yourself or looking at all of the Gallup and other data, they're coming in unprepared for work, and particularly the interpersonal skills and EQ skills. A lot of these have seen a devolution, in part because of social media and COVID and other things over the last decade. Managers get so little training about how to really manage people well. And they're our front line. Like, we know that people leave managers, not jobs. So how can we really help these managers understand how to get the most out of their people? And then if you're an executive, you probably are getting some really great coaching. I got amazing coaching opportunities at Microsoft, at Cisco, when I was a CEO. But then I'd walk out of these classes. It could be a 6-month intensive like Conscious Business Leaders or a week-long Microsoft class. I had all this great new information, but there was no way to scale it to all of my people. I didn't have the time to do that. There was no tool to do it. It was really frustrating. And I know it's not just me. If you look at the Gallup data, this problem of not keeping our people fully engaged and productive is 9% of global GDP. If it were a country, it would be the 3rd largest economy in the world. It costs the US $400 billion a year. And frankly, in a world where AI is disrupting everything, it's certain human skills that we need people to have that become the critical differentiator. You can't use AI if you can't think critically, make a decision from information, know how to contextually frame the right question. And that's something we can teach humans to do. And that's what Xapa does. So we stepped back and said, what would a modern solution look like? We know how to train people. We know what a video is. Videos are like, you know it intellectually, but you you don't have the muscle. Arnold Schwarzenegger says, you know, you can't build muscle watching me lift weights. And it's true. We all have to build our own muscle. So what Zappa is it's interactive and gamified. We ask for 5 minutes of play a day. It's right in your pocket. It's mobile first. We Zappify content from amazing experts, the best books, etc. And we bring a little bit of Hollywood magic to it. We have a team of Hollywood writers. They come from outstanding backgrounds with big productions you've heard of before, and they help us make it entertaining as well as real world. And you're practicing it every day, and you're learning to hold each other accountable in this community. So what I'd like to do next is I'd like to show you a demo of this. And while I switch from this screen to my phone screen so I can show you the demo, there's a bunch of people who have been testing in this either for the last year or since we've released it. And if Neha, if you made it on the call, I'd like to have you go first. Megan sent me a note. She was sick this morning, but Megan, if you're on the call, I'd love to have you say just in 1 or 2 minutes what you like about this platform.
Absolutely, Christine. I'm so excited to be here. And obviously, you can tell with everyone here just how invested we all are to see Zappa succeed and see you succeed. Hi, everyone. My name is Neha Curtis. I'm the Vice President of Digital Engineering Strategy at Ancora. We're a global engineering and innovation firm. I'm also an adjunct professor of mass communications at Syracuse University. I teach at the Newhouse School. So I just started testing out Zappa this past week, and I'm coming from this as two perspectives. One as a leader, as a technology leader, and also as an educator. So what I really enjoy about Zappa, first off, is it's engaging, it's fun, it's valuable, and you can actually push all this essential leadership development and training quickly to every level of your organization. So I've actually set mine up where my goal is to use it for about 15 minutes a day, and I'm hitting that 15 minutes a day, right? I'm also testing this out with my 8-year-old daughter, and I've learned just so much about how she's engaging with it as well. And I think that's what Zappa showed me, is that it's very sticky in the kind of information that you're retaining, because to be honest, our attention spans, and I'm telling you this as a mass comm educator as well, as it's changed quite a bit, right? So we're only able to really hold information for engage with information for not that a long period of time. So when you have training, which I'm going through right now at my work, it's a little daunting, right? Like you don't want to sit down and invest, to be honest, like an hour, 2 hours of your day for training that seems very overwhelming. So I'm right now on the communications module for Zappa, and I've found out, even as myself, I'm a driver.
You are. That doesn't surprise
Driver.
me.
My daughter's a stabilizer, and my husband is a deliberator. So as I'm sitting with my daughter, kind of going through these modules, I'm teaching her and also learning for myself through these little brain breaks, right? About how we can interact with each other. And I think it's so applicable to our workforce. And also as a professor, I went through that pandemic where I saw so many graduate students trying to enter the workforce, and their biggest challenge was, they always came to me, was, I'm really struggling because I don't have anybody at work who's kind of teaching me and mentoring me on how I can interact with people, which is so crazy. But that was a very real thing that was happening, and it's still happening because we're kind of living in this hybrid world. So for me, I thought, having an app like Zappa where you're able to engage on your own time, like we dictate our own time, you set up your own goals, and these are brain breaks, really, where you're learning valuable information. So for me, I've loved it, and I'm still using it. And instead of, I hate to say it, playing a like a game to kind of take a break from a day, you can, hang out with Yellow and company and learn.
That's the idea.
Learn a few things on the way. So that's been my
Neha,
experience so
thank
far.
you. Megan, are you on? Did she make it on? All right. Well, she sent me a note, and it was exactly your point. She said, if I can't make it on this morning, what she enjoys, she's a SAP salesperson, and what she enjoys is it makes her better all the time. And she replaces doom scrolling with going into Xapa. So then she feels better about herself instead of worse about herself. I know there are people on who have been testing. If you have experience in Xapa and there's things you like, please put it, or don't like, or want to see more of, please put it in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to share my phone screen and start the broadcast here and take you for a little spin of Xapa. All right, let's get out of this. So here's Xapa. And I already went in this morning to make sure everything was set up for you. So I had a screen pop up and say I'm on a 64-day streak. So that screen has gone away, but it looks something like this. So I can get Xapa today. I'll get a little message. I can claim the key and this reward. Sometimes it tells me to do something. It might be a gratitude practice, appreciating somebody, but I get something to do in the real world. I also can do a daily check-in. And one of the things to know about Xapa is each person's data is their own. So you can know that 30% of your employees took a burnout journey in the last month. You can know that, 5% are checking in as excited, 20% is valued, 50% is stressed, tired, frustrated, whatever. But you can't know that Christine checked in frustrated. Christine took the burnout journey. So I'm super excited today. I'm also proud, but I'll take that one. And then I can go and complete a quest. So I'm going to take you into a quest that Jackie and I put together just yesterday, specifically to show you around Xapa today. And the reason why I pointed out that we did it that quickly is because really we can Xapify and customize material very, very quickly. So here's the way Xapa works, and this is going to show you the different kinds of things that we can do in Xapa. It's your professional development platform. It's powered by behavioral science, delivered with a dash of humor. And we believe that growth shouldn't feel like a chore. It should be fun. So everything is bite-sized. Tell me more. I'm Zappy. Think of me as a career coach in your pocket, minus the motivational posters and giant whiteboard. They wouldn't fit there anyway. Where do we start? What are you most interested in? Communication, building trust, leading and influencing others, managing people, your time management, setting priorities, maybe creating a high performance team, something else. This is multiple choice. I could hit any or all, but I'm going to say ready to learn. And I've got all these little things popping up. Everyone has areas to grow, no matter their level, age, or experience. Xapa is here to help. Sounds useful, but dry, like every other training program to revolutionize my professional development. Nope, Xapa has a different way of going about it. I'll give you a few pointers, and then you get to apply them through stories featuring my lovably flawed colleagues. Let's meet a few. I'm the hard-charging exec who never listens because I'm always right. I've been told I'm antithesis of a good leader. I'm far too busy to look that word up, but I'm pretty sure it's high praise. Sure. I'm new here, still figuring things out, I guess. My superpowers include disappearing when things get uncomfortable, saying yes when I mean no, and spending 2 hours revising the same email before hitting send. Have any of you met these people before? Because I definitely have. There is a whole cast here to help you learn and practice what you do in all kinds of situations. It'll be fun, chaotic vibes because we're low key, a pretty dysfunctional team. We'll make the mistakes so you don't have to. No cap? Now, some of you might know exactly what I just said. And some of you might be thinking that Xapa needs an editor so that we don't have so many typos. One of the way that we bring generations together in Xapa is we teach all generations how to speak and work effectively with each other. So if you know what low key, a pretty dysfunctional team means, great. If you don't, you're going to learn. When somebody says low key, that's zillennial for secretly or a little bit, kind of. Now, if it was high key, it'd be super dysfunctional. No cap? No kidding? Really? Are you lying? No cap. If we were in Australia, we could say fair dinkum for both of those. So it's about bringing people together to communicate effectively. Match the problem skill with the problem with the skill that Xapa teaches. In Xapa, you can do stack ranking, you can do matching, you can do all kinds of different ways to interact. So if you're missing deadlines, you need to learn about accountability. If you avoid difficult conversations, clarity is kindness. We have lots of communication skills. You get defensive in feedback, all about a growth mindset. Disengaged team members, how do I build a high-performing team? I got all those right. Yay. Can Xapa really help with all of this? Please show me how. We've got hundreds of off-the-shelf experiences just like this. This was a little quest. All common workplace issues. It's easy to Xapify and customize your content that you've already created and make it fun. What's next? You just finished your first quest. Now, if we were in a regular corporate training or a video, you'd see stock photo of people jumping up and down, but this is Xapa. So you get to claim your rewards. And I'm going to go ahead and do that and claim my rewards. That will show up in a chest. And I can claim my chest down here. And after I do my chest, after a while, this was one I did yesterday, so it'll open up. I did a whole experience yesterday and I can claim my reward. After I finish a quest, and Neha was talking earlier about doing the communication stuff, I can go over to my extras. Inside my chest will be some kind of extra on what I just learned. And for communication styles, which is the one she was talking about, you will have a summary of all 4 communication styles, the teaching points of everything you learned in the quest. You can remember what each style is. And Neha said she was a driver. Here's how you communicate with drivers. If you're an influencer, here's how you communicate with influencers. I think her daughter was a stabilizer and husband was a deliberator. Here's how you communicate with, motivate these people, how they show up under stress and in conflict. You can learn about your listening styles and remind of what people listen for. And then we give you worksheets that you can do alone or you can do with your team. Every single experience you do comes with these extras right at your fingertips. There's also a store where you can spend all the things that you're earning. The heart of this thing is really the quests, the programs and experiences. I talked about High Five for high performing team. This is an example of this is the High Five program. And you can take this as it is. It comes right off the shelf with the platform, or we can customize programs for you. But you will learn about communication styles, all the levels of listening, how to make agreements that stick, an introduction into self-awareness, your saboteurs. Each one of these little things you're seeing is about 5 minutes. The power of empathy and leadership, bouncing forward, etc. This will go on and on. It's one program. When you're done with that program, you can move on and do another program. You get lots of rewards and so forth. If I don't want to do a whole program, I just want one specific thing. I'm interested in just building trust. I want to go straight there, or self-care or management or whatever. Then I can go into the experiences and I can pick exactly what I'm interested in. So that's the way it works. I also have circles. There's a feed, we call it the Joy feed. Every day we're giving you just some little tips. This is Sleep Awareness Week. Last week was Women's Week. So you'll see things in here. There's an emotional tune-up tip every day, how to go from proving yourself to contributing, heard around the office, which is always fun. You can build your EQ. Other things, if you're doing stuff in Xapa, you're interested in learning about something, then we're going to be feeding you the things that are going to help you with that goal. All right, that is a fast tour around Xapa World. Again, we want 5 minutes a day. Everything can be customized to your employee, and each company gets their own tenant. Your people are in Xapa World alone with each other. There is an open Xapa World, which you can go play in as well. I'll show you how to get on it. That's open to everybody, but when you bring it into your company, it's just your company and your employees and your team. All right, I'm going to stop this share and go back to where we were before. Stop. Before I move forward, does anybody want to ask a question, or is something not, is anything confusing? Because now I'm going to switch into teaching a topic.
I have a question, Christine.
Yes.
I think I heard you say earlier when you were just opening up the app that you might know that your team is checking in for the day, but you don't know how the individual is doing today. If a leader and their team have access to the app, would the leader see that daily check-in, or maybe does the employee have control over whether or not that type of thing is seen?
Yeah. So the employees have control over, like if I complete the high five performance, high five competency program, at the end, I can check in and tell my manager, hey, you asked me to do this, it's complete.
Right.
But the user gets a chance to do that. If I'm the manager, as long as my team is at least 6 people, I can know that X% or Y% are checking in a certain way over a period of time. And I can't know that Christine's the one that's checking in frustrated every day. Now, I should know that if if I've done my manager training and I'm asking the right questions in our one-on-one, because we do teach people how to have really productive one-on-ones with their people, where they don't just do project check-ins, but they do people check-ins, they do career check-ins. So we're teaching them how to do that, but we don't rat people out on the platform. So,
Right.
And the reason why we do that is because otherwise people aren't going to give honest answers. And so the platform's not going to be helpful. Great question. Here's an example. There is a year's worth of content in the product already, and there's more quests and programs and experiences that come in every single week. So these are the 5 programs that are in there right now. There's another 5 that are being worked on. There's an entire program guide. If you're interested in it, it breaks down everything, and happy to share that with you, but also customize it for you or Zapify your content. If you want to try it, here's the QR code. You can download it off the App Store now. It'll be in the Android store in a couple of weeks. And put in your information and we'll let you in. It's for companies, and so you can't just start. We have to let you in, but we're happy to do that. And if you want your own, one-on-one like this to learn more and ask questions, just email me at xteen@xapa.com or info@xapa, and we'll set something up. So I told you earlier that Xapa is all about leadership. And the way we think about and teach leadership in the Xapa platform, whether we're doing it in person with your executives on a Zoom like this, or in the platform, is we teach that leadership is a choice. It's not a level. Leaders are built, they're not born. It's a practice, and we have to practice it every day and get better at it. It's not a position. So, how do we do that? We start with something we call the high five. And these are the 5 competencies. If you talk to all the experts, if you look across all the research globally over the last 50 years, there are 5 competencies, individual personal competencies, that can be taught, learned, and practiced, and that are most associated with high performing teams, high performing individuals. Self-awareness, self-control. Self-control is, I can't control the world, I can control how I respond. Growth mindset, positivity, adaptability, accountability, etc. Self-care. This isn't going home at 5 o'clock, never answering emails on the weekend. That's not what we're talking about. It's recognizing the link between my daily habits and my ability to be at my best mentally and physically, at work or at home. So doom scrolling at midnight is not good self-care. Communications and trust. Every one of these has an inner game and an outer game. Self-awareness and situational awareness. Self-control and understanding how my emotions and reactions are impacting those around me. Self-care, making sure I'm caring for others and those around me are self-caring. Communications is self-talk and how I talk with others. Trust is self-trust in decision-making and how I build trust and assess trust with others. So that's the high five. What I'm going to do for the rest of our time is I'm going to take you into one area of self-control, empowerment, and accountability. And I chose this one because I don't think there is a CEO, board member, or executive that I have talked with in the last 2 years who hasn't said they want a culture that has more empowerment and more accountability. They want more of a culture of accountability. And so I'm going to just give you a little bit of a peek into how Xapa deals with that. So I want to start with empowerment. And like I said, normally when we teach this topic, it's, I don't know, it's at least a couple of hours. It's a couple of hours of playtime. It's a couple of hours of in-person time if we're adding that component in. And we're just going to taste it here. But the place that I start is with the definition of empowerment. Because normally when you ask somebody about empowerment, they give a definition that is, I'm going to empower you, or you're going to empower me. But the implication is that I'm given power by another. And at the very least, we think that definition is incomplete, and it might just be inaccurate. The way we think about empowerment is I gain the knowledge, the skills, the competency and confidence to activate my inherent power. I can recognize and use my strengths, and I'm willing to challenge barriers and limitations. Now, we know that leaders can create cultures that unleash people's intrinsic power, and we know leaders can do things that compress or stifle people's willingness to use their power. So leaders absolutely have a role here. Again, leaders a choice, not a level. So everybody around us plays a role in creating an empowered culture, but ultimately it's a personal choice. And this is something for all of you who are executives in a company. I want you to understand about the way Xapa teaches every topic. We teach the concept. We teach the opposite of the concept. What's the opposite of empowered? Victimization. What does that look and feel like? We have you practice that too. It's not good. We teach the overuse, and this is super important because every good thing, doesn't matter how good the thing is, it is something that can be overused. And if you are naturally good at something and you overuse that skill, it becomes a weakness. So we really try to teach things from all level and all lenses. And we teach when things are in tension with each other. And sometimes two good things can be in tension with each other, and we try to point that out to people so that they're cognitively aware. Everything is done through the lens of self-power. No victimization, no blame. Everything comes back to what can I control? So self-empowerment's an easy one because I just gave a definition that way, but it doesn't matter what it is. We don't allow you to go through life, to go through Xapa life and say that your problem is due to somebody else. It's always about what can I do to solve my problem. All right, so here's an example of that, so like, how do you teach empowerment? One of the experiences we have is called Bloom Where You're Planted. And we have an entire program on bouncing forward from setbacks and resilience and positivity, dealing with adversity. But one of the things we teach is that adversity is our opportunity to grow. And if you look at the Gallup data, anywhere between 50 and 68%, depending on how you cut the data, of your employees are either actively looking for a job or thinking they might. So they're not all that engaged. And when you peel the next level, what the Gallup data shows is that 76% of those people just want to know that their company is investing in their personal and professional development. They want to grow, they want to self-actualize, and they don't feel like they're getting those growth opportunities in their work. In fact, it's a big change over the last decade that people expect their experience in their full-time job, not their gig job, they all have their side hustles, but their full-time job, they expect that experience to help them grow and self-actualize. And if you look at the Gen Z, they're the most transient generation in history. And the reason why is because they think the grass is greener on the other side. They think, oh, I'm not getting nourished here in the right way. So if I change companies, it's going to be better. And then they get to the other company and it's no different. And then they change again. So one of the things we teach is that the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. And by the way, you don't have to wait around for your manager or your company to water you. Everything you need is right where you are. And then, we can use plants as an example of this, which we do. If I'm in an environment where I don't have water, what would a plant do? Well, they're going to take it out of the air. Redwoods do it all the time. If they lack nutritious soil, they're going to put down deeper roots. If there's super strong winds, they're either going to be a palm tree that learns to blow in the wind, or they're going to have a really tight trunk, a big, sturdy trunk. We can do the same thing as individuals. So what we teach them is, if you're not getting the water you need, take initiative. Go look for sponsors and mentors. You've got teachers everywhere. Even if, like Odin, it's a manager who's teaching you what not to do, what you don't want to be when you grow up, how you don't want to treat other people. So we get people to think about the critical skills that they are able to learn in whatever environment they're in, and switch the mindset to say, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. What is my opportunity here? All right, so I'm going to now go from empowerment. That's the way we look at an empowerment. If you were going to go through that series, you'd learn those things. But when we think about empowerment, accountability is really the cornerstone. So a lot of times people want power, like, empower me, I want power. but then they don't want to be accountable for the deliverable, for the outcome. And so really where we take it is down to personal accountability, because that's the bridge between my empowerment and positive organizational impact. Now, accountability is both a mindset and a process. And this is another kind of typical Xapa approach to teaching and learning. There's almost always a what needs to be done, and a how. This is a typical 9 box. You guys do it all the time. You're judging people on both what they bring and how they do things to get up into that highest potential category. We do the same with the topics that we teach. So in the case of accountability, the what is an accountability mindset. And yes, you can teach and learn that. The how is an accountability process, and everybody has to use and practice the process. So the mindset is about whether you're an owner or a renter. And as executives, we all want our people to act like owners, not like renters. That's why in tech, we give people stock. Some people are born and they just think like owners. That's the way they show up. Leadership fills a vacuum. Many people aren't, but they can learn. And so we take it into, in this case, an acronym. It's the Own It framework. It has 3 parts: open dialogue, walk the talk, and nurture trust. And ultimately, the open dialogue is the process of accountability. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. But it's making sure that you're really clear and having the right conversations early in the process or anywhere along the process, and that you're open about owning your own state, whether that's your successes, your mistakes, your questions, your failures. You're clear about who's responsible, etc. And we teach a whole program of communications. Clarity is kindness, courageous communications, how to own your voice. Walking the talk is about modeling this owner mindset, which is long-term thinking, not short-term, a stakeholder orientation, not just yourself, but really thinking about all of the stakeholders involved in a decision, big picture context, and then holding yourself and others accountable for tasks, responsibilities, and results. And then the end is about nurturing trust. And there's a whole trust framework, and there's a whole experience around trust. Ultimately, when we talk to people about owning it, we want you to first own your mistakes. So we're teaching your people, hey, if something's not going right, I need to be the first one to raise my hand to my colleagues, my managers, and say, I'm having a problem. I'm failing. Something didn't work. I made a mistake, whatever it is. And you gain credibility, not losing it, by owning your red. But we also want you to own your successes, your ideas, your concerns, and ultimately your voice. And they get a chance to practice all of that over and over. The process of accountability, and at ZRG, there's a woman named Carolyn Taylor who wrote a fantastic book called Accountability at Work. And I highly recommend this. But what she summarizes is a process that has a before and an after. And there's both an asker, who's asking me to do something, and an acceptor, one or more people who are accepting an accountability. And what we want to teach people to do is to understand their role in any accountability process. Your role as the asker before you accept, your role as the acceptor, or before you allow somebody to accept. So if I'm asking Kate to do something, then I have a responsibility for making sure that Kate understands what she's being asked to do. I have a responsibility to make sure that Kate thinks she can deliver it, that she believes she has the necessary skill, time, resources, and understand if she thinks she has dependencies or needs help from others. It's my responsibility as the asker to help her set herself up for success in this, but she has the same responsibility. So Kate, if I'm asking her to do something, she has a role too. Even if I'm her boss, she doesn't just say, oh, yeah, I'll get it done. Ghostina does this all the time. And Ghostina doesn't understand what she's being asked to do. And then she often fails. And it would have been so simple to say, Christine, I'm not sure I'm understanding. Can you tell me more? What does this look like to you? Well, are you saying this versus that? So the acceptor, do I understand what's expected? Do I understand what it's going to take for me to deliver it? Do I have the skills? Do I need help? Do we agree on the risks and how to mitigate them? So there's a conversation, an open dialogue in the Own It framework. There's an open dialogue that happens before we even agree on this accountability, this process. But then there's also, as soon as we say yes, okay, Kate, go do it. You're empowered. I'm empowered. I'm taking my power. Off we all go. The asker has a responsibility to check in, to get feedback, to making sure things are going okay, to offering support, to making adjustments if necessary. So if Kate goes away and I don't hear from her for 3 weeks, and then the day before I'm like, Kate, where's the thing? And what do you mean is that all Kate's fault? Well, it's partly Kate's fault because she has a role to play as well, to give regular updates, to plan, to adjust, to ask for help if she needs it. But I had a responsibility to be checking in. So if there's a failure in an accountability, and we all know this happens all the time in companies, last minute surprises, etc. If there's a failure, who's at fault? And in this framework, the answer is everybody. Everybody involved in the decision to do this thing has a responsibility. So we don't need blame. That doesn't help us. But we do need to go back and look at the process because we all own that failure and, more importantly, how to correct for the future. And growth mindset says, let's figure out what we can learn. Let's make the adjustments quickly. And then let's make sure it doesn't happen again. I can tell you in my own company, once people start adopting this, accountability skyrockets. But oh boy, you start having conversations on everything because people begin to own their voice and they start speaking up about what they think we can improve and how we can make sure that problems aren't resurfacing and what they need to be successful. Now, this doesn't mean you get this long list and I don't have enough money and I can't get my job done. That's not what we're talking about. It's about getting to a realistic understanding from all sides about how we're going to be successful together. Does that make sense? All right. So that's a quick example. I'm teaching you a little bit about, in this case, empowerment and accountability, but more importantly, I hope you understand how Xapa teaches every topic, because this is just one example of the depth to which we go, but also the lenses through which we look. And ultimately, we're a platform by CEOs and executives for CEOs and executives to help everybody in the company be successful. Grow the people who grow the business. And if you invest in your employees, and if they feel like that you care about their personal and professional development and they're learning every day, they're going to not only stay, they're going to be amazing. Like I hear people all the time complain that their younger employees don't put in the effort and work that you did back in the day. Back in the day, why do these people not work anymore? Why can't we just pay people to work anymore? It's honestly not about them. It's not about their work ethic. It's about our ethics at work. And I can promise you, you will have amazingly productive, creative, empowered, collaborative people innovating and solving problems and serving your customers if they feel like you are investing in them and their growth. But you can't just talk at people. They can't just listen to videos. If you want to rewire the brain, it's about practicing to create new behavior patterns. So I'm going to stop in 1 minute and open it up to questions and comments and a conversation. But if you would like to follow Xapa on LinkedIn and even have your people do that, every single day they will get fun little things just like we do in the feed that teach them about EQ, about empowerment, about accountability, about communications, about all the things that we teach in Xapa, and in a fun way. And this monthly session, which will not be another Xapa commercial in the future, will go back to an hour worth of enrichment for all. You can share this with your team. Each month we'll bring somebody amazing. Next month, it's always the second Friday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific. And next month it's Onika Williams, Dr. Williams. She is the positive health doc. She is going to talk about the power of positivity. So this first little QR code is that you can share to get people to sign up, or you can just send them to Xapa.com. It's the enrichment series. And then the second one is the Xapa app if you want to see what's there and try it for yourself. And I'm going to stop the share and open it up for any question you want to ask in the last 10 minutes. It can be about the topic, it can be about Xapa itself, or whatever you want to talk about. And comments, questions, welcome. Please, because we have 10 minutes left.
Okay, I have another question. I'm sorry, I seem to be the question lady.
Thank you, Kate. Own your voice.
Thank you, I will. I'm wondering if there's a downside. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Is there a downside to this idea of empowerment? You said that you're seeing it already in your own team, where now that everyone feels like they have this sense of ownership, there's a lot of conversation. And I'm wondering, does that conversation turn into analysis paralysis? How do you stop the conversation and get to the action?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say, and Jackie, I'm going to ask you about this too. But I would say we have not seen the analysis paralysis. In fact, I think it speeds things up because people start to ask very early in the process, wait a minute, what are we really talking about here? So the amount of fake work goes way down. However,
yeah,
I think the big downside of this is if you start training your people on this, on any of this, and your leaders and managers don't know how to practice clear communications, clarity is kindness, they can't have a difficult conversation, they don't walk the walk, that's a problem. So this is why Xapa is about top to bottom, everybody learning the same thing, speaking the same language, left to right. So then we create a culture where we all hold each other accountable. Jackie, you came from the entertainment industry where none of this was practiced. You came into Xapa, you learned very quickly, you rose very quickly, you practice this all the time, and now you have to manage other people. You have anything to say about Kate's question?
Well, I think that we think a lot about what you said because I have had experience, like Christine said, kind of at every level. And I've seen a lot of the what not to do. We said we give the examples of the opposite of, seen a lot of that and seen a lot of the overuse of. But I do think that the important thing is understanding at every level how to have the communication. And part of what we've designed at Xapa to help with that is that we want to make information that we teach very tailored. So when you come in, you're choosing what is your level. What are you interested in? And then we have slightly different versions of the paths that you take depending on your answers. So we'll have a course on accountability for individual contributors, or for individual contributors, and then for managers, and then for high level exec teams. So what that allows is to have every single person at the company be ready to move into a new dynamic. Because totally, if you're not used to having people be honest with you. I know I encountered a lot of people where, because they were powerful, it was a lot of yes people. If you have people with the renter's mindset, I'm only here for a paycheck, you just say yes, and then, move along. And then suddenly you give your people Zappa and train them to speak up and care a lot, and
Yeah,
you're not ready for that, then you are going to have a huge problem.
right.
So
And I
you,
would imagine too, Jackie, I'd be curious if this
Mhm.
is true. I would imagine that after a couple of rounds of this accountability method, just asking the questions and making sure that both sides, both parties are communicating, that you start to get into a zone and a shorthand where the asker knows to be very specific right from the start, and the acceptor actually probably has a sense of what the asker is asking, because we've done this so many times together. Does that sound accurate?
And it
yes,
builds trust.
absolutely. And yes, and I will say, I can also bring it back to the communication styles, knowing how to say things. And I can say very personally, because I was coming from, a Hollywood environment where I was not it was not welcome for me to give real feedback. So it's like was very scary for me coming into Zappa to be honest about things. And I had to learn to speak up. I had to learn that if I'm talking to Christine, that she wants to hear my actual opinion, that even if she disagrees with me and comes back at me about stuff, and we have about whole back and forth, that I can trust that I'm not then going to get that followed up with a call tomorrow like, okay, bye, Jackie. You're done
Now, in
here.
fact, what has it
Um,
gotten you? What is all of that um, disagreeing with Christine, bringing a different point of view, asking for the resources you need to be successful? What has that gotten you? A lot more work, a lot more responsibility, and a couple of promotions.
Yes. So it's a much better environment when everybody is using that same set of skills. And the one other thing I'll say is also knowing the communication styles. I know that Christine is a driver. So when I am going to express disagreement on something, I am going to express it at a high level. I'm going to explain this is the result. Here is the result I am concerned about. And here is like the top level things that we need to worry about here. Whereas Christine knows that I tend to be a stabilizer. So if I'm going to be bringing in, oh, but are we sure that this person's going to be happy with something? Are we sure this person's going to be happy with something? So she knows that if I sound like I'm hedging a little bit, that she probably, as my boss, needs to bring out of me a little like, be direct, because you're trying to help people. So I just think it's, everybody has to buy into, we're all going to be learning and growing how to communicate together.
Yeah, yeah, you use the word care, and I think that is the bottom line here. It's teaching everybody how to care, not just for each other, but for the objective. How do
Yes,
we all
that's it.
contribute in our ability to care for the objective? Sorry, that.
That's great. And, I'm going to go to you next, Neha, but one of the things we teach is the stakeholder wheel. This is right out of conscious capitalism. So I'm a graduate of the CEO program for conscious business leaders. And most of what we teach the CEOs in that program has been Zappified, because every person, it's not about being a CEO, it's about learning these basic human skills. And one of them is the stakeholder orientation. Before I make a decision, let me think about all of the stakeholders that are involved, the employees, the company, the shareholders, the partners, the suppliers, the, you know, whatever. And in my individual decision as an IC, it might be my boss, my colleague, the person who's waiting on me, you know, the people who I'm helping. But think about every impact before you make the decision so that you're optimizing and you don't have blinders on. Neha.
Just looking at the app in general, I just noticed there's a lot of gaming principles and behavioral science in here as well. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because there's, you know, I love that there's a leaderboard. You know, if you're a fitness person, you love being able to compete with other people and sort of see those rankings, and even just some of the sounds that the app has. It gives you that instant sense of accomplishment. Can you talk about how you incorporated that into some of these learning like modules?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. And Leon, our CTO, is probably on this call and he can double down even more, but I'll just summarize quickly to say, and if anybody else has a question, raise your hand. But I'll summarize to say, we really studied two things: how it's done by other people, other companies. Duolingo was a really good example for us because they write a lot of papers and publish what they do, how they do, why they do it. And they're a super successful company that gamifies learning a language. And we're very much like Duolingo, but instead of learning a language, you're learning leadership and life skills, but still, you know, quick hit and so forth. So we borrowed a lot and learned a lot from studying them, but also many, many other games of all sorts, mobile, video, and so forth. And at least as importantly, the true behavioral science. Forget the gamification. Just what is the behavioral science? How do we change people's brains? How do we avoid the amygdala hijack? Like there's real brain science in it as well. And then we try to bring it all together. I'll be honest, we're finally launching this platform, which is great after a year of testing. And we are, you know, this far into our goal of all the things we want to do and how we want to do it. But we do spend a lot of time with millennials and Zs, and they are the majority of your workforce now, 2 out of every 3 workers. And we have to be really careful with the gamification, because if you don't know that your Zs are cynical, go have a conversation with any Z. I think they're one of the most cynical generations in history. But it's because they're very smart about the world. Like they're constantly being bombarded with anything from 1,000 different directions, and they learn to be very skeptical of things. And so what we have to, like leaderboards are a great example. A lot of Zs don't want to feel more social pressure. They already have enough social pressure from enough platforms. So when we implement leaderboards, and we do have them, and we haven't implemented them yet in all the areas that we probably will, but it's because we want to help you be successful with your millennials and Zs and use these tools in ways that won't alienate them, but will motivate them. And so like with leaderboards, we'll show the top, but we're not going to show the bottom, because we want to reward the people that are doing the right things and leading in, but we don't want to make the people feel like they're being shamed or something. And they're very sensitive to that. So everything we do has a lot of science behind it so that we help you get it right with your millennial and Z employees. And this content is relevant to all humans of all ages. But the design point on the app is your younger employees. And I see that we're at time, and I'm so incredibly grateful for all of you for joining. And if you're interested in learning more about Xapa or bringing it into your organization, please give us a call. Would love to help you.